So yeah, hi, and welcome to the talk about FFUF, the hidden gems within the tool. First of all, thanks for the sponsors of the Bug Bounty Village in order to make this happen. Super cool, love it here. So first of all, my name is Joona. You can find me by handle Joohoi all across the intertubes. Yeah, during the days I'm working as the head of security testing at Visma, but for the context of this talk, the only thing that you need to know is that I've been writing a lot of code for FFUF. So the tool itself, it is many things. Typically, people use it for content discovery, API fuzzing, virtual host enumeration. It can fuzz headers, it can fuzz the body. It can. Sir? Yeah. Yeah, we have the. It can fuzz pretty much anything really. But this talk is not about these basic functionalities of the tool. Instead, I want to help you to level up your FFUF Ffuf. So I'm going to go, it's a lightning talk, so I have a limited time and I'm going to go quite fast through the different things. I have a couple of things to present here. Yeah. The first one of those is something called replay proxy. You may have used replay proxy previously. So what the replay proxy does is that every match that FFUF finds, it's going to replay them through a proxy. In this case, the proxy would be burp suite. And this is super useful because you probably want to, go deeper manually into the matches that you find. And getting them ready there into burp or zap or Kaido or whatever is your preference is probably a good thing. So the way that it works is that you just put your replay replay proxy on your FFUF command line and make it tick. So here, FFUF job is running, it finds something, and as soon as it finds something, it will pop up in the burp as well. It's pretty nifty. Here you can go and use your repeater to mangle the response and see what's going on there. So that's still pretty basic, right? But what if I told you that there's a power-up, a hidden gem in this? Not really an FFUF feature, but more of a usage thing. So you probably are familiar with the SSH port forwarding, which basically means that you have a remote host port that you want to forward to your local machine, so you're able to access things like you would be directly doing from the remote host. But the SSH port forwarding actually goes both ways. So we are doing a reverse port forwarding here, and we are actually forwarding our local machine burp port to our remote VPS host, and using the replay proxy through that. So using this method, you're able to basically, regardless of if your internet connection, wherever you're hacking from, is shitty, you're able to leverage the high bandwidth of a VPS you're running it on, and basically still getting all of these things on your local machine, which is great. I wonder what is happening. Keynote crashed?
Beautiful. It's in the screen. There you go.
Okay, we're back. All right, so what happens here? We take the SSH connection to the remote host, and we forward the port, local machine port 8080 to the remote host port 8282, and relaunch FFUF on the remote host, and using replay proxy address of to port 8282. And what happens here? Now the FFUF is running on the remote host. And when it finds the matches, they pop up in our local burp. This is pretty nifty, and enables a lot of people with a bad internet connection to do pretty effective large-scale stuff. Okay, so that was the first thing. Next thing is a payload encoder. How many of you know that this feature exists in FFUF? 1, 2, 3, okay, yeah. Pretty much what I expected, because apparently, I'm sorry everybody, I forgot to tell anyone about this feature. So it has been in FFUF for over a year, but I realized that the only documentation about the feature is in the pull requests in the repo somewhere. Closed pull request, obviously, because it's merged. So giving the rest of you, outside of these 3 people who already knew that, a bit of a leg up, because this is the first time ever I'm talking about this. So yeah, sorry, I guess. So how it works. This is our typical FFUF command line, and at the end of the command line, you see here -enc, and then word, and B64 encode. And what this would do is that it would encode all the entries from the word list as base64. But there's more into this, so you can actually chain different things. Like in this case, it would basically convert all the inputs to uppercase first, and then base64 encode them, basically while running. And it's not just case or base64 encoding. There's actually quite a lot of different options that you can do with this. And I guess sorry for not documenting, but now you know. So this is the payload encoder. There's actually a standalone tool for this as well, called pencode. It can be found in the FFUF organization in GitHub, basically meaning github.com/FFUF/pencode. The next feature, FFUF hash. So this is also a pretty underused feature that I think is cool. So what FFUF hash is that it's another keyword that is automatically included in all of these. Well, you can basically put it anywhere. And what it does, it creates a unique hash for each payload or each combination of payloads that goes out. And it's really good with out-of-bounds or out-of-band payloads and stuff like that. Things that may trigger, like later on. And then you kind of know, okay, I hacked something. I wonder how, and I wonder what. So this is a feature that helps you to find out. So let's take a real-world example instead of this pseudo thingy here. So for this example, I'm using burp collaborator subdomain and appending FFUF hash in front of that. And this example is basically just fuzzing the target.php, and the fuzz keyword here is like a get parameter keys, basically. So we launch our FFUF job. It does its work, goes through the word list, payload sent to the world, and then we sit and wait. These payloads, they can trigger, I don't know, it depends on the back-end systems, of course, but they can trigger in minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, or even years. So obviously, instead of a burp collaborator, you could use interact SH, your own DNS server, whatever you wish, basically. But when the thing hits, let's say a year later, just suddenly you get the callback. You can go in and see what is the FFUF hash part of this, request. So equipped with this information, going back to the terminal, you're able to just ask FFUF what I was doing back then. And FFUF will give you the exact request, raw request that got sent out that day, year ago. And the way that it's doing this is it's not actually storing all of your outbound requests. And there's also this brings a caveat to this feature. So what FFUF does, it saves the configuration for the FFUF execution. So equipped with this information, the hash also includes the payload position within that configuration. So that way, FFUF is able to kind of recreate the outbound HTTP request that triggered this vulnerability, basically, and doing that without, like, transparently, without filling up your hard drive. I think it's pretty cool. So next up, also a new feature called Scraper, and this is a pretty complicated one, but I wrote a kind of super simple example for it. So what it does is, I want you to look at the group name at the top. It's called website info. The group currently consists of only a single rule called HTML title. The different methods to use this scraper is that you can use the jQuery type selector for HTML extraction, but also you could use regexes. So basically, with this feature, you can build your own vulnerability library. In this configuration, you see only matched being true. This means that it only does the scraping if the FFUF matches the response. But you can set this to false. So if you have this like a strong indicator, let's say a fingerprint of a known vulnerable library or something like that, you can add that and make the only match be false. That means that whenever FFUF in the future encounters that sort of fingerprint, it will give you the results regardless, even if that's 404 or something else that's filtered out by FFUF per default. So let's take a look into this in action. We're looking at the websites of the sponsors of the Bug Bounty Village here, using the scraper that I just showed you. And here we can see the results. So in the addition of the normal stuff, we see the HTML title there. But I would love it to be better because these do not seem too good. Like the pesky Cloudflare again, interrupting our hacking session, and some web application firewall on Mercado Libre. So I didn't really intend to put this part into the presentation, but I got triggered by this. So sidetrack. Sorry. There is a feature that has been there for a long time called FFUF-RC. And what FFUF-RC is that it's basically a default configuration for FFUF. So you can add all and any of the options that you wish to use to the default configuration. They will be there without you defining them on the command line. So let's make ourselves look like a real browser instead of FFUF. So as you know, FFUF by default adds the user agent FFUF version number. And this is how many web application firewalls detect FFUF. So just by adding this user agent here, makes FFUF effectively a Firefox. So let's try again against the same word list, same list of the sponsor websites, and look what's how our results look like this time around. Yay! We got all the titles. So no pesky Cloudflare, no web application firewalls are shutting us down here. Pretty nice. Moving forward, something that Tom already mentioned in his talk, JSON lines, they're great. They're not great for humans, obviously, but they're great for computers. And this is stuff that you can use for automation. And it's super easy to use this output type instead of the normal std out, like a human readable output of FFUF. The only thing you need to do is add -JSON and -s here. It's just for brevity, basically meaning that it will remove the banner and it will remove the progress bar. And doing exactly the same thing that we did with the scraper example, running this results into a list of JSON lines objects. Each line is basically a complete JSON object itself. So you're able to do all sorts of things with that if you're a computer. So how can we make this and like utilize all of these like extra data that we actually see now from the FFUF output? How can we utilize that in, let's say, an automation chain or simple script? Well, there's awesome resource outside of FFUF called JQ. That is like a JSON parser and basically a language that allows you to do pretty complex stuff, especially with like larger objects and so on. So looking at the same example again, just by piping that to JQ, and we were interested about the HTML titles here. So let's pick that from the JSON lines output with using JQ here. And the result is quite nice. We can utilize this thing to, well, pick up any data point or any scraper result from the JSON objects from FFUF. And yeah, I think that's it. That's it for my lightning talk. So thank you again for all the sponsors enabling this whole village thing to happen. It's great. And this is the URL for FFUF, in case you're not aware. You can find me with the handle Joohoi all across the internet. And we seem to have a couple of minutes left, so I'm happy to take questions.
Questions? Perfect. Well, yes, clap, 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 clap.
Hello. For these new techniques for Ffuf or FFUF, do we need like a dictionary to add to the FFUF, or how can we build a dictionary if that applies?
Sorry, dictionary for what?
Like a dictionary, like a word list.
Oh, yeah. You meant the scraper functionality?
Yeah.
Okay, so the scraper functionality actually works in a way that you can add these JSON files. They are like right now, sorry for not including that in the presentation, but for Mac, it's in your user home directory, library, application support, FFUF scraper title. Basically the same directory structure than with FFUF RC. So I'm going to show it here. So instead of the FFUF RC, the directory is called scraper at the end. So in Linux, it would be .config/FFUF/scraper, creating all of these JSON files there. There's a more extensive documentation about the scraper functionality in the GitHub repository. Just go to the wiki.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
¿Más preguntas? ¿Una más? ¿Alguien más? Acá, perdón, no te veía.
Can we use it on the SQL problem that I talked yesterday?
Okay, so disclaimer, this is my colleague. Yeah, please do.
No. Real question is, can we write down our own JSON objects to work with scraper, or just
yes,
the included ones?
The format is defined though, but feel free to add anything. You can add like hundreds or tens or how many you wish. Okay. And they are basically matched by the group name. There's a variable active there. So it's not active per default. If you would add like active true, that means that you don't have to define that on the command line, but it would be active all the time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
¿Más preguntas? Ahí. Stock. You have a question.
It's not more like a question, but could you please clarify the importance when it comes to using FFUF hash and search when it comes to keeping the word list in the correct position?
Sorry, FFUF.
And you do the search for the hash, and the challenge is that you have a word list in the correct location.
Exactly. So that is the KVAT in the FFUF hash functionality. So here, in order to be able to search, doing this thing, searching with the FFUF hash, so this requires you to have your word list in the original position where it was when you performed the initial scan. And that is because we don't want to store all of the outgoing requests raw, because that would fill up your hard drive basically. But instead, FFUF is, when doing this, like a recreation of the original request, it's actually opening the word list from the same exact location and basically recreating it that way.
Buenísimo. ¿Alguna pregunta más? Una más, la última. Si no, cerramos, ¿eh? ¿Hay más? Bueno, un aplauso, ¿sí? Un nuevo aplauso para Jonah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonah. Thank you, man. Thank you so
Jonah.
much.
Amazing tool, amazing footer, amazing features, obviously. Y bueno, cerramos. ¿Qué más decir, Mago?
Nada.
Estamos
No se olviden,
contentos.
mañana a las 10 de la mañana, el live hacking event, ¿sí? Si se quedan ahora un ratito, van a poder ver un poquito de qué se trata el scope, porque van a estar ploteando la sala, así que ya me dijeron, y si miran bien por ahí se van a dar cuenta. Así que mirá la que les tiro. Así que,
Eso les va a dar una pequeña ventaja,
sí.
obviamente, ¿no?
Así que, bueno, agradecerles nuevamente por estar un año más acá. Los invitamos a Adri, Lean, Gonza, súbanse al escenario, hacemos una foto.
Una foto, un
Y
saludo.
Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Nos vemos el
y
año que viene.
Nos vemos. Momento de cerveza, beer
Sí.
time.
A disfrutar
Fernet
el resto de
time.
la eco.
Vamos, gracias.
Vamos.